Today's task is to do an audit of what I have in my boxes. By that I mean all the stockpiles of food that I've kind of amassed over time. Most of it is from cashback apps. There's a lot of yellow stickers, and it's a case of whenever I see something that I think I can use and I can store properly, I will buy it. So I have lots of, say, emergency supplies, because particularly now that prices are still rising and yellow sticker prices are going up, and I'm trying to keep my budget really low, those stocks are now becoming really important. My freezer has a lot of frozen veg in it, and that's not because I buy frozen veg, it's because I buy fresh and blanch. And sometimes you might go into the supermarket and see 3 or 4 broccoli stems on offer, and it means that I can buy those things, blanch them, put them in the freezer, and they're there because I might not see broccoli in the supermarket again on a yellow sticker for months. So I've got used to seesawing the way things work. So today I am just going to do an audit. I'm going to categorise and lay everything out on here, and then I'll double check against my spreadsheet, because it's very easy to forget to mark something off the spreadsheet when I've opened it. Sometimes there might be too many of something, particularly with things like milk, where I'm constantly getting milk on the cashback apps. It's very easy to get confused about how many I actually have, and it's just nice to keep that total properly in tally, because that makes a difference to the cost of my food budget at the end of the month when I see how many items I've rolled on, all that sort of thing. So let's get to it. Okay, so that's my 3 boxes emptied. This may look like the hoard of a crazy person, but in fact, this is all really useful stuff. This is all long-term storage. So like bottles of oil. I don't buy veg oil anymore. These are left over from when I was buying them on Nectar loyalty points. I use more water than oil now. I just use oil occasionally and when I need it in recipes. I have lots of flour. That's some of the flour. The rest of it is still in its box. So I have enough for bread making and for cakes and other bits and pieces, so I don't need to buy any of that stuff now. This is a really good way to work out what I've got, because there are some things here that I have a lot more of than I realise, and that means that I can absolutely not buy any more. I have plenty of rice, I have plenty of flour, although if I see flour really cheap I will buy it, because I remember during the pandemic that was one thing that was incredibly hard to get hold of. I have loads of cereals. These boxes of cereals, I would never buy boxes of cereals, but these were all free on some of the cashback apps. I think it was Shopmium who were doing them, and I was buying them through the app and using gift cards as well, so I was getting the money back. Other things are just useful. So I'm not a massive veggie food fan, but these are great. You can make veggie meatballs and stuff them with either meat or mozzarella. They also make quite a good veggie meatloaf. They're all right. They're not amazing. I tend to beef them up with a few extra ingredients to make them more interesting. Peanut butter is a staple that I usually have quite a lot of. I've only got a couple here, but I'm afraid I tend to go through peanut butter quite a lot, a jar a month. I've got quite a lot of the fruit. I bought these earlier in the year, so although their use by date, I don't know where it is on these, is over, these will last for ages, and the same with, I have this version. I had 4 of these. I've used 2. They make great boozy fruit cakes, so I'm going to hang on to those. Lots of pasta. I have couscous. Again, I was buying, like, these pastas are really cheap. They were like 30p when Morrison started really ramping up their Savour products. And I had, I think it was a £2 basket bonus on the loyalty app, so I just bought loads of pasta, loads of cheap Savour stuff. Comes in really handy. Tins, I don't have as many tins as I thought I did. I have 4 of chickpeas. There's a whole load of chopped tomatoes there. Always come in handy, will last forever in the cupboard. We have some tinned lentils, more chickpeas, 3 tins of peeled potatoes in water. I don't even remember where they came from. Lots of stock cubes. I got these cheap last year when Morrison's was having a big old clear out when it was relaying out its store. So I don't even know if you can see these. Its phone does not want to focus today. Yeah, it's not focusing. So I bought loads of those. They will last forever. Tins of beans, cake mixes, cheap cake mixes. They're all right. They need beefing up a bit. They're not really exciting, but they're good for forming a base of something and then just adding your own ingredients. Same with the shortbread kits. Found them quite disappointing, but if you add other things to them, they become more interesting. So that is what the contents of the boxes looks like. Now, that isn't everything. My impulse purchase from earlier this year, my wonderful door tidy, is also full of other food and bits and bobs. So that's, I need to add that, make sure that's all on the spreadsheet as well. And my cupboards usually, these are the only food cupboards I have, are usually full of things that have already been opened. But every so often there's something lurking in the back which I haven't got around to opening yet and have just shoved in the cupboard. I think we're all good to go at the moment. I try to use this as the everything's been opened, it needs to be used cupboard. So the milk store, which is looking quite good at the moment. For some reason, Milkology Barista seems to be very popular on the cashback apps. So all of this milk is either free or only 50p. And of course, the huge advantage here is that it's long life oat milk, plant-based milk, which means it can sit there until its use-by dates. Some of these use-by dates are at the end of the year, so that's great because it means I'm not having to fill up my freezer with stored milk. The last thing is the emergency snack bag, which takes a hell of a beating in winter, but tends to get ignored once the weather changes, because I'm afraid the bad weather, and it's cold and dark and miserable, does make me want to eat more, as it does with lots of people. So this is what is left of what was once a very full emergency snack bag, which I went through liberally over winter, and it's really hard not to. So a lot of these will sit probably for the rest of the year, and it's something that I will just occasionally open if I haven't made any cake or I don't have anything in the cupboard and I just fancy just a small bit of chocolate. I can make one of these last 2 or 3 days, and that's just because of the weather change. So that's the emergency snack rations when I just need a kick. I've got my drinks freebies, so I have quite a few of these cans. I got all of these last year and I've never opened them. All free. But they're nice to have on hold because you get a nice summer's day, and I've got a drop of gin, one of those. It's a lovely combination for the summer, and it just adds those little treats that just keep you on the right side of sane. There's also the free booze box. I'm not much of a drinker, but if I see a freebie I will pick it up. So I've got loads of these which are being offered free at the moment. I've tried one of them. They're alright, but they're £2.20 each, and I would never have paid £2.20 for that. There's a few things left over from birthday gifts. These freebies. There's a lot of alcohol-free beer, which is really nice. A few Starbucks coffees that I got free at the supermarket. I would never pay for anything from Starbucks. Some pale ale, again that was a freebie. And these are freebies as well. So these are just nice little extras to have. I have to say I'm not really a drinker, and some of these I've had since easily the summer last year. But they just make life a little bit more interesting. I also keep a few up on this shelf. That includes the cold coffees from Minor Figures, which were also freebies. And I'll keep one of something to hand here generally, or just trying to keep the boxes down because some of those boxes get really, really full. So, I mean, apart from just buying veg, I could afford to not go shopping for ages and just live on what I've got. The problem is that if I get these stores down too low and prices keep on rising and yellow stickers become more problematic in their prices, and if surveys become less and I stop getting as many vouchers for taking service, the gift cards, or I stop getting as many cashback offers, these stores will run dry really fast. And I know that probably sounds like a bit of a doom scroller maybe, and a bit of a hoarder, one of those like end of the world hoarders. But this has really got me by since I started doing it in COVID, when it was really hard to get anything. And I think 2020 demonstrated how quickly the system breaks down. I don't feel that I'm completely mental for what I do. I don't think I've even over-hoarded. I mean, most of the stuff that I've got there are things that have been extra cheap or free, and you grab them when they're there because those deals don't last. Yellow stickers, you know, they're on the shelf and they're gone. And I don't go every day for yellow stickers. I might go 3 times a week and just see what's on the shelves, but I won't pick up everything. I'll only pick up things that I think are a deal, which means they have to be really cheap, or if they're things that I would normally use. So I don't just sweep the shelves clear and leave nothing for anybody else. I'm quite picky about what I will buy. But particularly with cashback apps, when you get a free offer for something like a new product that's come out, you grab it. And particularly with these tins and jars and bottles and a lot of the packets, they will last an incredibly long time. Some of these tins and jars will last 2 or 3 years. So I can really carefully work my way through. And particularly at the moment where prices are really high, meat is really expensive, and I'm trying to only spend using cashback apps and gift cards, it does put quite a restriction on what you can buy. You can't just buy whatever you want. So all these extras that I have stored up help to tip the balance on that and enable me to keep making interesting meals with what I've got, what I can afford, when I have to buy new things like that meat. It's very hard to get yellow sticker meat now. It doesn't come up very often. And some of the things that I would normally buy, you would never see on yellow sticker. You never really see, like the cooking bacon. You won't see frozen chicken or frozen mince, because obviously if it's frozen, it'll sit there for ages. So there are certain things I have to buy on full price regardless, so I have to be really careful. But this means that I can seesaw everything. I've got plenty of spares. Now that summer's here, I've got some nice fun drinks, and it just helps you stay sane in a time where everything now seems to be on restriction. And so now it's just a case of going through my spreadsheet and making sure that everything is listed the way it should be, that there's nothing missing, that I haven't taken out too many, that there isn't too much of something, to make sure that my end of month bills are accurate and I know exactly what I've got, because it helps me to plan meals properly. Well, I've finished my update, looking at my boxes and working out what I do and don't have, and quite a few mistakes, which has really pushed up this month's food budget. It's showing an actual spend of £24.58 this month, which is not great, because I've messed up. But hey ho, we can do better, and we will do better. There's still another 6 months of the year to go. Not to worry.